and welcome back to part 14 of Dragonstar VARNIR's Madness route, where today, I guess as a standard practice now, we've got a couple optional boss fights to do before we persist into the Wilderness of Atonement. Which, just like on the first run, the Wilderness of Atonement is like the shortest chunk of this video. The Wilderness of Atonement continues to be the shortest fucking dungeon in this game. Even more so, technically, because we don't have VARNIR. So, even though in my recording, I just tank the damage and go through it, if you're on your first playthrough and VARNIR doesn't tag along because you've lost a kid already or your madness is too high, you're going to just avoid them, really. You're not going to go into the areas where you'll take optional damage, you're just going to go past them so the dungeon gets even shorter.
Are you okay?
But that'll be later on in the video. We've got not one but two boss fights to talk about, and both of them, I know I talked about it before the last time we were taking on the two optional bosses of a Star Temple, but holy shit, do you start feeling the hard mode difference in this. More so the second boss of the two. But in this one as well, when I was going through it and recording for it, this was my best run because I actually died the first time round. This is my second attempt. I actually tanked a game over. And I was tempted to keep it in, but it started and ended so poorly. Like, it took such a long time. Like, it was such a long-winded fight just for it to get nowhere. And I nearly die again here. So I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. So eventually I was like, you know what, it was a very boring long stretch, and these videos, with how slow the rendering is because they're on 1080-60 plus my internet, I know, if I can keep the video length down a little bit, I've got to just keep it down a little bit. Which is what it is. I hope later on there'll be an update on the PS5 that allows you to pick how you want videos to be rendered. Because right now it's 4K or 1080, and it's just always 60 frames. And maybe at 120 if you've got a monitor that supports it. I don't. So everything's been at 60, but I can imagine if you do, it might. In the same vein, if you have a 4K monitor, it supports it for recording. But I don't. Mine can do 1080 and it can do 60, and that's enough. That's enough for me, at least for now. Maybe later down the road, when I actually have some more money together, I'll invest in a better monitor. But if I'm gonna do that, to be honest, I'm gonna wait to see if the PS5 ever gets an update to support 1440p. Because if it does, then I'll upgrade. Because I don't mind 1440, but I'd rather, like, there's a part of me that's always going to be hesitant to jump up the 4K, just because that's when it starts punishing the frame rate more and more, and you need something a bit more powerful. And although the PS5 and the Xbox Series X are both mightily powerful consoles that on various games can function at 4K 60, like, even for the upcoming Resident Evil 8, I believe that's 4K 60 on PS5 and Xbox Series X. I would rather not take the risk. Like, I'd rather not start punishing the machine. I would rather it just look nice as it can, without any risk of compromise. If it starts compromising, I'm going to want to lower it. Which is why, at least for now, I'm completely comfortable with the 1080 60, because 1080 60 I know it's not gonna struggle, especially, you know, when I'm recording PS4 titles off the PS5 like Dragonstar. Like, it wasn't like with DMC5. Like, with DMC5 you can put it on 120 frames mode, or you can put it in 4K mode, but you can't do both. It's one or the other, you son of a bitch. And if you put it in 4K mode and then turn on ray tracing, you're playing Devil May Cry 5 at 30 frames per second. And that, to me, is just baffling. Like, it's like, no, we're not playing the reboot when it was on 360 and PS3. Give us a proper, stable frame rate. Like, it's just not worth it. But I say that, as I've said before, I don't think ray tracing is really worth it, full stop. Because anything that can improve the spectacle of the environment, like ray tracing, because it's just how light is rendered off objects and you and things like that, makes it handled by the machine to make it more authentic and realistic and such. Your eyes adjust and then you stop noticing it. So that's it. That's simply as put. It looks nice and pretty for the first, like, 10 minutes, maybe 20. But after that, your eyes have adjusted to it. You don't notice a difference. You might as well have the smoother frame rate. So ray tracing and things like that, I'm never going to have an interest in, personally. Because once you adjust, it loses its magic. And you adjust very quickly. The big developers and whatnot will make out like it's a super big deal and it's super magical and whatnot. And that's just because it costs quite a bit to put in. But it doesn't mean it's that special, and it doesn't mean it's worth compromising game performance for. The whole time it's an option, I'm a-okay with it. The moment it's like mandatory ray tracing in this game, and you're gonna play it at 30 frames and you're gonna fucking like it, it's the moment I'm gonna start having a problem. And the reason why I'm making this point now is because similar things happened throughout the PS4's generation, where they boasted about all these graphical things while also being able to maintain 60, and then you stepped into the second half and it was like, if you want 60 frames, you gotta play it on the Pro, or you gotta play it on the Xbox One X, and it was like, no, you should have just prioritized frame rate. You should have just been, the graphics are better on the Pro, and it's not the frame rate is actually decent on the Pro and the Xbox One X. Especially when games that looked better and played better were still 60, making that argument bollocks, like Devil May Cry 5 launching at 60 on all platforms, regardless of whether you had a basic, like, dusty, shitty PS4 and Xbox One, like, original, you still could just run it as Charlotta gets decked. But anyway, like, just hold me to that. That's all I'm saying. In a few years, we'll look back on this and we'll see how right I am. If they start pushing all these ray tracing and start making it mandatory and start saying, oh, it just can't hold a 60 FPS. Oh, it's too bad. But that's the thing you need to make things look nicer, even though we'd always prefer better frame rate. I guess I've just been bitten too many times, because it was something similar in the PS3 and 360 generation as well. Like, it feels like it's just a pattern. These big AAAs boast about making the game smooth as silk and powerful as fuck, and then a few years later start dumbing it down just so they can make everything look pretty, harming the game's actual lifespan. But this boss is nearly dead. The biggest thing for it is that because it's over-reliant on water-based skills, bringing Charlotta is a death sentence, but because she's in my main party, you just have to deal with that on hard mode. Your main thing to help give her a chance is just boost her defense and keep her at max health. When she didn't have the defense boost, she was dying every turn, as you saw in that fight. Once she had it on, she managed to survive. So just look after the people weak to water and just start chipping it down. Physical attacks will be a great help. I didn't expect to find it at the South Star Temple. It found us so quickly too. If only we could have got the jump on it. Be careful, it's probably a lot stronger than the last dragon we fought. I can't see this dragon's past either. This must be another dragon with a different kind of power. I think you're right, but let's figure that out later. Prepare yourselves. Don't be afraid, we can beat this thing if we work together. Now for the real meat of this entire video, really. Even though we're going to the Wilderness of Atonement afterwards, like I said, that's the shortest part of the video, really. But this motherfucker, he has Grim Butterfly. And in the main playthrough, I said Grim Butterfly was one of the most pointless skills in the game. Because it only does 100 damage. Well, its base power is 100, so it will also do more than that. It's just saying it's not making the most of your damage stat because of it. And it has a chance to inflict sleep. On most enemies in the game, that's pointless. You're never going to hit sleep. But on you, that can be a bit more of a threat. In hard mode, I swear it's not 100. I swear it's not 100 when the boss is using it. You're going to see me get caught by it a couple of times, and it not only does great damage, it's like an instant guarantee puts him to sleep. It never doesn't. And in hard mode, you stay asleep for more turns than you need. And in hard mode, against any boss, if you're not on full health for a second turn in a row, you're not making it. So there's going to be a lot of points until we can break the extra limb to get rid of Grim Butterfly, where you're going to see me play it extremely defensively. Because simply put, we will die if not. If it happens, if you only have one healer, like I do with Minessa right now, just to jump ahead, I changed that. After this video, I give a healing skill to a second character just to space it out a little bit more, because I was starting to accept that my normal strategy isn't safe on hard mode anymore, and bosses like this are the testament to it. It puts Minessa asleep. Not only is Minessa's life in danger, the entire credibility of us winning this fight is in danger, because Minessa's the only healer. So if we can't get her awake to get her to heal before the next turn, someone is going down for sure, because this motherfucker can kill so quickly. And this is Grim Butterfly, by the way. It's a cool animation, to be fair. It does about 700 damage to us. Put Charlotta to sleep despite the fact she's in dragon form. Charlotta is now in fret, so I need to get a panacea on her just for the simple reason of survivability. Like, I need to be able to get her up, because you will take increased damage as well if you're asleep. And we've also poison chipping on as well, and poison I feel like does a bit more damage than it used to like when you bump up the difficulties, but I'm not certain on that because we wasn't poisoned that much on the normal playthrough, so I'm really, it's hard to tell. It feels like just because everything's beating the shit out of us, you feel the little things a bit more anyway. But the whole time Manessa isn't the prime target for Grim Butterfly, we're A-okay. Problem with that, there it is. This is like I said, I don't know if it's guaranteed, but sure as shit felt it in this fight. Manessa's now asleep. So now we need to get her up, because if she's not up and another turn passes, that's it. Like, that's it. People are going to go down. Whether it's Manessa or someone else, someone is going down. And on this turn, I misread the bars in the top right. I read that as, oh, Manessa's turn isn't for forever anyway, I'll wake her up another time and make the most of it now. No, Manessa's at the very back because she's asleep, so she can't have an action. So until she wakes up, she's going to be at the back of the list. That was me misreading, and then I suffered brutally for it. Because now we've got two characters kind of out of action. Because Manessa's asleep, and Charlotte's dead. So I'm like, well, oh, well, fuck. Like, at this point, Zephy was the only active member, so it's like, this was danger zone now. I needed to do something. But then, as you might have noticed, I don't have that many Panaceas. I have about 4 left after this one. So I need to be making a move on them this fight. Your biggest help going into this hard mode is buy some Panaceas. They're not expensive. You can buy them in the shop. You can buy them in Curio's shop. Just go buy a shit ton. Because it will help. Until you can get rid of Grim Butterfly, you're in constant danger of... If you run out of Panaceas and you haven't dealt with it, this fight will just... the fight will snowball on you. And it will snowball hard. It will just fall apart and you will die quickly. I managed to beat this motherfucker on my first attempt, even though I'd say he's a far harder fight than the last one we've done in this video that I did die to. But that was more just because I wasn't expecting the last one to be difficult. Whilst this one, after that last one, I was expecting it to be brutal, so came much more prepared and more confident. But Grim Butterfly, despite how useless it is when you have it, you really need to take it seriously on the enemy side of having it, because it will just end you so quickly. I can't stress it enough. The hard mode's version of Grim Butterfly is such a game changer for this boss fight compared to what it was in normal, especially because this motherfucker uses it so much more often, and I will keep calling him a motherfucker because that's what he is. Like, he uses it so much more often on hard than it felt like he ever did on normal. And I'm aware that on normal, because of the reduced stats of, you know, being on an easier difficulty, we broke the limb far quicker than we do this time around. But still, it still feels like he's using it almost every turn. Whilst in normal, I think he had it available for like 4 or 5 turns and only used it like once. And even then, I barely acknowledged it because it was normal and the fight's so much easier on normal. Like, they've ramped it up so much. It's another thing that makes me curious to see what Expert, the New Game Plus difficulty, and Inferno, the DLC, super hard difficulty, do to some of these fights if hard mode does this much for them. Get ready. Like, I kind of am excited towards that prospect of seeing just how brutal Inferno could actually be in the right hands. Like, if it completely transforms the game's difficulty and what you have to expect going into it to survive. But I digress. I'll do my best. I think I've got to digress at this point because I just can't keep on going on about how brutal this fight is. Just have someone making sure your party's at full, get rid of Grim Butterfly as soon as you can, and then just do the usual practice of chipping and work. Just be wary that this guy, I can't keep on calling him a motherfucker, this guy, this good old dragon, this Zoro, I think it was Zoro Arabra, I think it said. I missed it earlier because I was too busy bitching at this boss. It's Zoro something or other, but this boss is extremely tanky. Ogura, I think that said. I think it said A-U-G-U-R-A. Let me see if I can... Agruga. Zoro Agruga. The Zoro dragon, that's what I'm just going to call him, Zoro, is extremely defensive in hard mode, both physically and magically. So this is just going to be a chipping war. You're just going to be doing little damage, little bits and pieces constantly, trying to drag out, more so at least for me, is Zephy getting his dragon form so he can start getting real damage in, because it's weak to light, so you might want to put a light skill on everyone just so you can do more damage, because right now the only person who's doing real damage is Zephy because of light magic, and Charlotta because she's got a high magic stat. I chuck on a War God Stone on it as well because one of the random drops you can find floating around the dungeon are the free double up drops. The double experience, double money, and double factor point drops. So when the fight started, I put the double factor points on. So now I put the double experience because I was like, no, with how much of a trouble this fight can be, I'm making the most of it. I want double experience out of it. And since I'm under no time limit, I may grind out another one for future bosses, but that's more so then I don't have to grind as much later on for me. So we'll see. When we get to the Wilderness of Atonement, I can tell you right now that off screen I'll be grinding out in there just because I don't get to fight that many dragons. Like, I think Manessa, we get to the other side of it, she only picks up 1 new dragon. Well, Zephy picks up like 4, and Charlotta picks up like 2. Because it was just, I was either getting unlucky, it was the same groups of enemies, even though I know others can spawn, or it was just the only person who would get them was Zephy. So I need to go back through there and pick up more skills, because I think a better group-wide healing spell is there, and with hard mode being what it is, a better group-wide healing is a must. Being able to make it 1600 group-wide instead of 1200, that little difference could be the difference between life and death with any of these bosses so far or anything to go by. Thankfully, the moment you tap dragon form, you'll recover from your aliases. So if you're poisoned, paralyzed, asleep, or whatever, the moment your dragon kicks in, it will get rid of it. But it doesn't mean it will stay gone, at least not in hard mode. So if it inflicts poison again, Zephy in dragon form will still be poisoned, kind of thing. It doesn't make you immune to them, it just gives you a bit of a reset when you do it, because you get all your health back as well. You're going to see as well, and I think that this is a nice warm-up for when I eventually do Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne, assuming Atlas don't block the scenes. I can't stress enough how much I'm dreading the fact that they might block part of that game, or block the whole game from being able to play. Like, when it comes out, I think I'll play it for like an hour or 2 myself first, just to check. And if I feel like it's safe, I'll check online to see if anyone's got to the end, or like race to the end kind of quickly, to see if there's a block scene near the end, and then after that I'll be like, okay, I think we're in the clear and go. Because it'll be really gutting if it's like only the final boss or something, because that will still throw the entire Let's Play out the window. And not only that, I probably wouldn't know until I get there, because I plan on just jumping in. And so it'll really suck having like a 70-part on Let's Play, because it's going to be big. It might not be 70 parts, we'll see, but it's going to be big anyway, because Nocturne is a big ass-sucking game, and there's a lot I want to talk about. But get all that and then not be able to finish it straight away, and have to, I say wait for Atlas to get rid of it, but Atlas have a track record of never getting rid of it, so that it might end up becoming a dead Let's Play until I can get a real capture card myself and record it myself. And the idea of that is terrifying to me. Having a company literally kill a Let's Play because of they won't fucking tell us if they block the scenes or not. Like, literally, a lot of people have been commenting for the PlayStation version saying, is it going to be a blocked scene, like they did with P5 and a lot of other titles, and they just have not commented on it at all, and it's very worrying that they're not saying anything. Like, just tell us if you're gonna, instead of like not telling us, knowing that when we find out we're going to be annoyed, sort of thing. Like, please just say, Atlas, just tell us, come on. But if that falls through, then my next big Let's Play will be Neptunia, which is another month beyond that, so I'll have to try and find something small to do. Because the way my plan is that essentially there's not going to be as many Let's Plays this year as I've done in previous years, but that's because everything big I want to do is this year. Because Nocturne, the 7 remake, and Neptunia 1's like remaster are all this year. And so my intention is to go straight from Nocturne to Neptunia to Final Fantasy. I'm doing it in that order because Neptunia is going to be a lot easier and a lot more relaxed. So doing the super serious, dark, and brutally difficult Nocturne, then the easy game, and then the more story-driven, heavy-hitting, and kind of difficult at points, but not too bad, 7 remake on the end, I think it's a good way of doing it for me. And on the plus side, it will then give me more time to experience the integrate story with Yuffie, and get a better feel for that, and get a better understanding of it, so I know what I'm talking about when it comes to the main Let's Play.
Hang in there. Thank you.
Get ready.
Speaking of, I can't wait for that, man. The 7 remake is genuinely one of my top 5 favorite games of the last generation. So more 7 remake with better performance and more content. I'm like, yes, thank you, please. Literally, the only thing we need right now for me to be a very, very happy boy is for Bloodborne to get a remaster of some kind.
Brace yourself.
Because Bloodborne is a Let's Play that at some point in the future, it'll probably be more live streamed than full-on Let's Play, because it's just a revisit. I want to revisit it. Because Bloodborne was one of the last Let's Plays I did in the original group.
Phew.
Like, I talk about it a lot. Like, the first 7 Let's Plays, as much as they were necessary stepping stones, I hate them looking back.
Are you okay?
Especially because my mental health was in a terrible state for a lot of them, and you can kind of tell. At least to me, looking back, I can really tell. Like, GTA 3 is my worst one, in my opinion. I hate that Let's Play in reflection, because I sound miserable when I listen to it.
I feel strong.
But a lot of those old ones I'd love to touch upon and do again at some point. Bloodborne is one of them. Obviously, it won't be anytime soon, because I'm talking, like, maybe a couple of years from now, even. Because they're still, like, they're only, like, 5 years old, some of them. I don't want to touch them straight away again, but I do want to go back to them at some point. Anyway, what's up with this intense magic, though? You're right. If one of them pops up and tries to fight us when we're fatigued, there's no way we would stand a chance. If only we knew where they came from. Zuba only found out about it with the skull, but she doesn't have any more details. Hey, Charlotta, why the long face? I now understand their true nature. The dragon's true nature? Yes, they're probably dragons that VARNIR is called, and I think it's doing it subconsciously. What do you mean? I told you that VARNIR's lifespan is coming to an end, and that we'll need a new dragon star, haven't I? Yeah. In order to increase the probability of a dragon star to be born, the prospect must become stronger. That's why I went through the star temples with you and had you consume the dragons that showed signs of intelligence. In order for us to take in its power, right? We know that. How is it related, though? To put it simply, VARNIR has summoned big dragons in order for you all to become stronger. What? That can't be. There is a limited number of dragons in this world, and the intelligent ones are incredibly rare. This is just my assumption, but I do think this is VARNIR's plan. If there are no dragons available for you in this world, I would summon them from the outside world. I like how she says I. Lapinette, outside world? That doesn't make any sense. Of course it does. It's plain and simple. I'm talking about a different world from the one we have here. VARNIR's desires to give birth to a new dragon star summon powerful dragons? It's hard to believe it can do such a thing. Of course it can. VARNIR has the power to change the very foundations of this world. I suppose it is unusual, which makes it seem unbelievable. VARNIR's desires must have drawn in these dragons, though. Wait, then does that mean more dragons like this are going to come? Oh, what the hell? Then we'll be eaten by the big dragons before any one of us can even become the Dragon Star. I don't think VARNIR has the power to call that many more. And the ones that it makes will probably only be drawn to the Star Temples. So if they do happen to show up, we don't really have to worry about them outside the Star Temple then. Correct. Hey, Charlotta. So there are a total of 3 Star Temples, right? That's right. I guess that means one more will show up in the 3rd Star Temple. Anyways, I'm putting up a barrier so we won't be bothered by this one anymore. I did the same at the North Star Temple just in case, so at the very least no huge dragons will be showing up in that one either. I would never guess dragons like that with different magical powers could come here from other planets. VARNIR must really be desperate to give birth to the next Dragon Star. If it's going to appear in the other Star Temple, we have to defeat it right away. If it leaves the temple, there could be lots of casualties. I know, we were able to find the dragons using Zuba's help until now. We should go back and ask her for help. But before that, Karikaro, we're going to take back the dragon meat, so I'll leave the rest to you. Now we have to eat these 2. That's the point, actually. If the game's talking about the fact there are other worlds that are dragons, or dragon stars, but if they're looking for a sequel, why not just do that then? If they really don't want to touch the original cast in any form or fashion. Make it like a Final Fantasy approach of each game is its own story of characters. I personally would really think it's a missed opportunity to explore more of this world, but beggars can't be choosers. Not only that, but it's kind of lukewarm. Doesn't it make you feel kind of sick? You're right, just standing I feel gross. Nothing surprising. It's hot in the afternoon, cold at night. It rarely ever rains and no plants can be cultivated here. Neither humans or witches can live here. Dragons are the only creatures around. Needless to say, it's very dangerous. It's like we jumped right into a dragon pit. I see, this is pretty spot on. This is pretty late to say, but I'm getting worried. I hope that we can pass through safely. This is a bit more challenging than I expected it to be, but this will be worth it. Huh, you sound very sure of yourself. It comes down to mind over matter. You just have to keep pushing through before your thoughts get the better of you. I don't want to let my fears get a hold of me. Alright, let's get going. Let's be strong, but let's also be careful. And welcome to the Wilderness of Atonement. Yeah, are you staying? Oh, well, you've got about 8 minutes, and then we're leaving because this dungeon's that fucking short. And unlike previous versions of the enemies, this recolor of the Silverhorn doesn't separate itself, which is why I attacked it physically, because I was checking to see if it could, because then I could get it on everyone. But no, I don't get to get it on everyone, so unfortunately someone has to miss out. And Manessa's luck is really not playing ball today.
That wasn't so bad.
Which is why I said I'm going to go back and grind these out. But the thing is, these pain mists are still here. It's just, well, you have to tank the damage because you don't have VARNIR to put up the shield anymore.
I can use this.
And to be fair, they don't do that much. And if you're using your broom, or floating sword in Zephy's case, you can zip straight through them so quickly that you might even avoid taking damage altogether in the shorter ones.
No.
Like for now I tank it so I can more show you the damage it does. It's not that damaging. Like, we've had, like, 3 red flashes, and... Well, Zephy's health is the best candidate, because he was the only one at full when we started walking through them. As I say, he's, like, a little under full health. Like, it's not that bad. But anyway, watch this. I got Manessa to use her ultimate, didn't get a connect. Charlotta used her ultimate, didn't get a connect. Zephy, just a basic bitch, gets it. This is what I mean by Zephy kind of gets them all, and everyone else doesn't. Hence why grinding off screen at some point.
This is good.
I might not do it by the time the next video comes out, but I'll do it eventually.
This is good.
Probably like in a break time, maybe.
I'll play with you.
Because I've got work again this evening, and that's the biggest thing that ends up holding up some of my grinding sessions I want to do in between. Is that I'm getting most of my work shifts are in the evening, and the evening would be where I would usually spend a lot of my time either recording or editing or whatnot, because it's a bit more relaxed and I can just kind of chill into it. And then afterwards just fuck around and do things maybe even off recording, like, say, leveling up characters so it's ready for the next one, or getting skills I missed and whatnot. But a lot of my work shifts start at around 7 PM, so I don't really get that chance to relax and get ready, because I need to be ready for that shift to start at 7 PM, and then work onwards, and then by the time I get home, like, way later on, it's way too late/early in the morning to justify then staying up to do more recording and whatnot. It's why to an extent my uploads are kind of weirdly placed, like in the, because I live in the UK, so my time zone is obviously different than any of you guys watching in the US, or the few of you in Japan, which if you're watching, hello from to you guys in Japan, I know you exist, I've seen the statistics, and the surprisingly large number of Canadians that watch my stuff, which once again, hi. Is that because of the time zone difference, my uploads are a bit different compared to a lot of other YouTubers who work off US time zones. I just upload. I've always gone on the track record of upload when they're ready, and try and make it around 1 a day, only avoiding the weekend, because the weekend is my rest and recoup. Because I know if I tried to make it every single day, 7 days a week, I'd burn out, and that's the last thing I want to do, is something I genuinely really enjoy doing. Which I do, I love doing this. Even if we're doing stuff I don't like doing, like Devil May Cry 2 or murdering kids in this, I still love just being able to chill out, play games, and if anyone wants to check me out and watch, they're welcome to. I enjoy that back and forth. I enjoy it when I get the odd comment and just have that my own little group of like 200 of you now. Which I want to say is wild, I have 200 subs. Is that safe to say? I know some people will be like, oh god, it's so crazy, I have 1 million subscribers. And I'm like, yeah, alright. But then for me, it's like a good old 200. It's like 200, you sons of bitches. When I watch this 21, soon to be 22-year-old chat shit about like quirky Japanese games he tends to play. Like, okay, thanks. I appreciate it. If my not the best microphone, not the best film quality, and not the best for everything, I just kind of wing it and go for the best and try and do what I can. But I appreciate you guys nonetheless. But yeah, 200 odd subs. I'm like, yeah, thanks, guys. Especially because it took like 4 years to hit 100, and it's taken like an extra 18 months to hit 200. Like, it's getting slightly quicker. It's like, how am I getting traction? What's going on here? I don't get any money out of this. Like, I'm not in the YouTube algorithm, so I don't know how I'm popping up. Yeah, like, at least in my opinion, it has to be people actively searching, like, other people who are into the same quirky stuff, like looking up, like, Death End Request footage or Dragon Star footage, and happening to stumble on my Let's Play. That's the only thing I can imagine it is. And if that is the case, then hi, welcome aboard. I hope I'm everything you were hoping for in terms of a Let's Play and being able to talk about stuff, even if I do talk about a lot of other stuff. And I hope you end up sticking around and enjoy it enough. But if that is a question, I say about way back when I started 5 odd years ago, I made a point of outright saying that I'd never had any intention of monetizing my video, and I've gone on record since then of constantly saying that I have no interest. To which I still don't, but I want to throw it out to you guys, like, or anyone who cares, really. And it doesn't matter if no one responds. This is more just me thinking out loud.
Get ready.
How would you feel towards tipping, almost? No, I don't really know how to put it without coming off like a greedy arsehole, so bear with me, and I apologize in advance, but simply put,
Pretty cool.
if you've heard me talk about before, my work's terrible. I don't get paid well enough to do the job I do, because I'm just a supermarket dude. I chill in a store, I do all the evening shifts into the night, sort out everything that needs to be sorted, and then go home and get paid not much. And so the idea of not doing this as a job, because that I think would kill the fun of it, and I don't think I'd ever do, but having an option to just say, oh, if you want to, like, say, like, for instance, I'm just making examples here, nothing's planned out, but if I've had like a PayPal on my about, like, on the about page on my thing, so if you wanted to, you could just tip me if you wanted. I probably wouldn't mention it in videos, because that's not really my thing. I'm brainstorming out loud to myself more than anything here, and if you guys are interested, let me know. Or if you have other suggestions of what you think would be wiser, let me know. I've considered Patreon as well, but for Patreon, I think then would also add the whole, I'd feel like I need to treat it like a job to keep it consistent, otherwise why are you guys giving me money each month, if that makes sense. And I think the added pressure of it would, once again, make it less fun and make it less of the reason why I've done it, which is why the idea of maybe just adding something where if you wanted to, you can tip is something that's I'm kind of floating around with.
This looks handy.
But I don't know, like I said, I'm just brainstorming out loud. It doesn't mean anything's set in stone, and you can probably tell with how all around it I am with it. I genuinely have no idea if I'm going to do anything, assuming I will at all. It might be a thing where it's like 5 years from now, I'm still just doing it for fun, not getting a single penny, because I found a better job to make up for it anyway, so it really didn't matter. But it's just food for thought, I suppose. I don't want to do this as a job, I want to do it for fun, and I always feel like it's for fun. But the idea of, if you're doing something well, you might as well get a penny for it, isn't lost on me. And so, especially as I've got older and had to appreciate the real world a bit more. Back when I was 16 and first started, I could be a bit more like, I don't need money. But now I'm like, no, I've got bills to pay. But anyway, on that depressing tone, next time on Dragonstar VARNIR, we're going to finish up the Wilderness of Atonement since we're already here. But until then, you guys take care now. Peace.